Hello all. Thank you for coming over here and checking out this channel. And hopefully we can fix your vehicle. We're going to try. And I really appreciate all the support. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share. Check this out. We're working on a Kia Sorento. However, PO codes are kind of universal when it comes to the language of love of language of love of the OBD world. OBD2, matter of fact. OBD1 is a whole nother animal, which is older and probably very few people deal with that anymore. So, but I actually do some OBD1 stuff. One day I have to show you my really fancy scanner that I ran across years ago on a tool truck that a guy had bought used, and it was just laying on the tool truck. So the guy gave it to me, and it's an old Sun Pro, but it's got like all the attachments, and I can actually look at live data on like the old Chevrolet TBI motors and stuff. Pretty crazy. But anyways, this p200 code that I'm working on here. So p200A is what we call this, but this Kia Sorento came in, and I don't know for sure if we're going to have this problem fixed or not, but the guy actually said, hey, I've got this weird sparkly, crackly noise whenever I accelerate, and it sounds like it's running hot. It goes up the road, and you'll hear a pre-ignition sound and or spark knock. It used to be an old commercial for Octane Boost 104 where this dude gets in his Chrysler minivan and he's like, I got rid of silent knock, and he holds up the Octane Boost 104. And this is whenever fuel was going through sort of a transition phase in the mid-90s, and when the Chrysler minivan had first came out with their funny looking little wood grain side ones. You know, they were started out in the 80s like that. Y'all remember that? And the transmissions that all went out in them. So what I'm going to show you on this Kia Sorento is what is the intake manifold runner control? What does it do? Why is it there? And we're going to replace the part because the check engine light's on for it, but we're going to also check to make sure that the shaft isn't stuck. And you know, in the real world, well, we'll see. If the part fixes it, good. But this is a give and a take. Should I remove the intake and check to make sure all the butterflies are in place for the intake runner control where it switches between two separate parts of the intake? We're going to put the part on it to see what happens first. Best thing to do, because you start going into all the other stuff, intake gasket replacement, you might find something else. And so basically, we'll get into that. We're going to see if we can make the check engine light stay out, get rid of the spark knock that I hear. And I checked some of the spark plugs because it's got 137,000 miles, 134,000. And that puts it right at its due for spark plugs. You can even see, get this one out, get in the camera here, but these are the original plugs. And what you're looking at right here at the base, where the porcelain meets the spark plug metal right here, this actual blow by, which is normal. You'll see where, especially engines that like this is a direct injected motor, so the compression ratio is probably in the 10s or the 11s. It could be, just because of the fact of it being a direct injected takes some of the dynamics of how fuel works when it's in the cylinder and being compressed at the same time under compression ratio and heat versus temperature versus how much it's been squashed down. Anyways, a similar apparatus in diesel applications. It pushes the fuel in at the time of injection. But anyways, that's what you'll see around the base of the plug, especially when they've been in there for a really long time. It's hard to tell other than what you see on the electrode, but iridium tip plugs don't really wear out like regular copper spark plugs because the metal is it's very superior, so it doesn't burn away. You won't see the electrode burn away. All you'll see is kind of like looking like that. And sometimes you'd see paint on the end of the plugs for OEM. So with no further ado, let me flip the camera around. This is the intake runner control. Sorry, it's an actuator, but to me it operates like a servo in a remote controlled car. It's got an electrical plug-in. You just notice that there's more than just two wires going to it because it's got places, it's a stepper motor, so it can count, it knows where its position is in accordance to where the armature is moving around. So it calibrates itself when it goes fully one way and fully back the other. It knows where complete one way is and complete the other is. Then it listens to engine operating conditions and it's set in programmed. And what this does is it actually is going to switch between some separate intakes that's inside this one intake. It's an intake within an intake within an intake. The longer runners are really good for low RPM because you're not moving a lot of air, and the length of the runner helps to add mass to the air, so it actually doesn't fluctuate vacuum as much. You can see a steadier vacuum signal at lower RPMs with a longer runner. So and then as the engine accelerates and it starts to draw more air in, you know, if you can reduce the length of the runner because of the fact that it's restrictive, the longer it gets, you actually gain more power because air can enter into the cylinder easily under naturally atmospheric conditions where, you know, you're just relying on outside air pressure and vacuum to kind of do its thing. Ford F-150 4.2s, they have those. A lot of stuff just has, it's just maximized, makes a really good maximization of the airflow, and constant engine manifold vacuum is a key thing for making engines to be efficient. Mercedes used a thing called VANOS, which is an abbreviation for a valve train system that has the ability to actually adjust the lift on the intake valves so that they, you know, it doesn't lift them wide open every single time. It can just barely lift the intake valve open or low RPMs, and that doesn't open the area up for dead air. It kind of keeps a vacuum signal more consistent without going too much detail. And so we're going to get a few of the pieces off here. We're going to get this tube that goes from here to the air box. We're going to get this also, this tube or whatever you want to call it, pipe from the throttle body off to the air box, because then we can get in sideways to where the screws are. We'll remove the actuator and we'll turn the shaft to see if I can turn it by hand and listen to make sure I hear things go floop, floop, floop. You know, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. So I'm going to set the camera up and we'll get on it. So these little clips right here are these little fasteners. You just push the center down. That's all you have to do to get those things to release. This center part right here, you just pop it down a little bit. I should have got that on camera, but I'll try to do it. I'll do it live. We'll do it live. Here we go. So to get that out, I just push down. Just one click, and yeah, we're out now. And then we can get this out of the way. Wow, the air filter doesn't look too bad. I just did that because I can get in here now. It doesn't, you know, doesn't give you a whole lot of room, but it helps. There's a guy that does YouTube videos on mechanicking, and he's like, you don't have to do this, but it helps. So I'm not trying to grift on the dude, but it is funny. I gotta think of me a fun catchphrase for when I'm mechanicking, like something, I don't know. Can I steal Steve Urkel's "Did I do that?" when something goes completely wrong on camera? Let's see here. I'm pulling some of the other airbox stuff off right here onto the. Just remove these tubes. Yeah. All right, we got that one right there. Yeah. So remove that. I don't want to make this video too long, so we'll remove this fastener here, or clamp that holds the breather tube on here. There's one down in the holy oh. That, well, kind of hard to see, but it's right. You can there it is down there. You can see that one. We're gonna get that off, and then we'll move on. So I got that out. Ooh, big hand. It was just right in here. Now the lines can kind of move a little bit. That helps. Might have to take that off. I'm not going to do it. All right. Now, we got an evap purge. I got to see what we got here. So I got this thing loose. I was like, I'm going to see if I can kind of work it out of there. And still a little bit tight. So we're going to pull off a few more stuff stuff, items, and we got some PCV stuff going on here, and we've also got some evap stuff that I'm going to move out of the way. This is here's PCV, so I'm gonna try to. We don't want to break that hose, so I'm gonna try to see if I can get it to turn a little bit first. And this is a plastic piece right behind it that's rather brittle, so I don't know if I can push against that. Let's see if I can get this to move. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's one of them. Move the camera a little bit there. We've got this next one right here, which is on this. I think I'll have a better look right here. I don't know if you can see me down there. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Turn it a little bit. Just carefully. Don't want to pop the end of that valve off, but we gotta have something to kind of push against. Okay, we got that off there now. This thing sits in a wonky little bracket. Lift it up out of there. My camera probably picks up me breathing through my nose. Big racket. It's because I'm actually stretching a lot here, guys. Bear with me. All right. I'm gonna start singing the song instead of Taylor Swift's "When You're 22." I'm gonna be like, "When you're 42." That's it. That'll be on our next album. There we go. It's got this little thing hooked on to the manifold. It's funny how they call it a manifold. It's not a woman fold. I made that joke before, but in these day and age, it's hard to see it, but there's a lever down in the bottom. I've got my light on it, but it's this little, you see that black bar that goes down right here. It goes to the intake right there. And it looks like it's got a ball and socket that it snaps onto, but without pulling it all the way forward to get it away from that intake bolt, looks like it's going to try to hold it on there. And that's okay. It does move, so that's a good sign. But I may have to remove this lower radiator hose. My light is shining on it. It's pretty bright. But take that clamp off, put a little catch can underneath this thing and catch the antifreeze if it doesn't get on the ground. That'll allow me the ability to swing this thing out a little bit, pull it out and swing it out and around, and maybe that ball and socket will release without damaging anything, because I want to be careful with that right there. Okay, well, I'm going to try this long screwdriver and just go right down beside it. See if I can just pop it off of there, because I've got it pulled back enough. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take the hose off. Try it again. This time I can kind of swing it out a little. Look at that. Pops right over there. Ha, there. It did. Ain't that something else? I was able to twist it just the right way, and it moves it. So I can't tell a whole lot with that. More than likely, let me flip the camera around. You're probably gonna. I don't want you to look up my nose. The angle of it would be terrible. More than likely, there's not the servo. We're gonna see though. I'd be surprised if it is. There's probably something in the intake that's not working right. However, to get that intake off and all that stuff, I think we're just gonna try the part first and see what happens. Stick around. Will it fix it? Okay, so I've got the Kia out here running. I've got it back together. Let's look under the hood real quick. Everything put back accordingly. You know, we've seen how it was taken apart, so just a reverse procedure of that. No problems there. Topped off the coolant. Well, I dropped a little bit. Face close up. I cleared the light, or the check engine light has been cleared. Phone needs answering. All right, now we're in the vehicle. It's just you and me and my pores and my skin. Been working in Cannigan all day, so we can't be beautiful all the time, right? Yeah. Now we're gonna drive this thing up the road. We're gonna see if it does the spark knock thing. I don't know. That's weird what it was doing. Like I said, I've cleared the light, the check engine light. So let's see if it will accelerate and not make a spark knock, silence, whatever you want to call it, detonation, pre-ignition. We're gonna find out. Here we go. Let's cut this fan off so we can hear. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, okay, we're hitting 4,500 with it, I know. It's got little connected rods. It'll be all right. It can do that. I checked the oil in it just fine. That's the range it would want to try to detonate, pre-ignite here. Click, 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 like it was running hot or something. That's my seatbelt telling me, put on your seatbelt. And I'm like, quit making me conform. I don't want to conform. And now all of a sudden I've got this song by Bon Jovi playing in my head. It's my life. Do whatever. Hey, wrong YouTube channel. We should talk about the ins and outs of making you wear a seatbelt, but allowing certain things to be removed from your body at a certain age. Like, in other words, you know, you're not even old enough to say, yeah, I want a tattoo, but you can easily be all right. Oh yeah, you could easily be all right chopping off some stuff that doesn't ever grow back and making that decision way before the age of 18 though. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So with our out of focus camera and the way that this thing runs, and we flip it around, we're gonna try not to let you look at my nose. Looks like that, you know, the spark plugs were old and tired, but I don't think that was, I think what was happening is that we had a problem with that variable runner intake control, and possibly could have had something to do with airflow and timing, because everything is on the brink with these things. These things are direct injected, and what happens is everything is just right there at the breaking point of not working, because they're squeezing every little thing they can out of these teeny weeny motors. And so if you get a variable length runner control problem, now that starts to really change the dynamics of the intake, and the amount of fuel that's added to it gets adjusted accordingly. And if you lean the fuel out because the airflow isn't right, which is going to be a very key factor when your motor's direct injected, you're going to have possible pre-ignition like that. So we could say we nailed that one down. So I thank you very, very much for checking out this channel. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate everybody supporting this thing and sharing this content out. It's a big honor to be here. Have a wonderful rest of the week ahead, and I am out.